Good evening, everyone. I greet you all in Jesus' name. Amen. We are allowed to greet each other in Jesus' name, right? When you talk seminars and everything, people think God doesn't attend seminars. We probably need him more in seminars than any other place. It's a great honor and privilege to be here and to stand in front of you all. We are not strangers to each other, and it's actually quite good to see familiar faces. I know that we have not seen each other in a long time, and don't worry, the rumor is the rumor I heard about you, so like do you still go to church, So I'm happy to see you here because it means you still go to church, all right? We won't waste time. Been asked to speak today on unemployment and entrepreneurship. It's one of those words that anytime I need to write down entrepreneurship, the computer always has to autocorrect it. And I think clearly why we want to talk about this topic is because those are the realities that are facing us as a country today. And in preparing for this talk, I had to do what most people should do and to go and dig some statistics so that we can help each other to understand the reality, the challenge that we're facing around unemployment in South Africa. Now, this is per Statistics South Africa, quarter 2. So this would be June 2022. And I thought today I really wanted to just zoom in on youth because that is where the biggest problem lies. If you look at this slide, you'll see that it's people who are aged between 25 and 34, and indeed 15 to 24, that are affected severely. So what does this show us? It shows us that if you are between ages 15 to 24, 63% of those people are unemployed. I don't know why 15, because in my view, at 15 you're still going to school, right? But I guess probably the one that it becomes critical is the age bracket, 25 to 34. And with that one, 41% of people aged between 25 and 34 are unemployed in South Africa. What does that mean? If there's 10 of us seated, standing, 4 of those people do not have a job. Now, you can imagine that, 25 to 35, that is really the time when people are really molding their career, molding their dreams, molding their aspirations, because this is a time now a person has been to school, come out of school at age 23 or so, and for 2 years now, they've still been searching for a job, and according to this, then for another 10 years, there's a 40% chance that they will remain without a job. What is also then interesting is that on the right here, you've got the absorption rate. So this is to say that of the people that actually can work, our economy, how many of them can the economy absorb? And that's 41%. So you've got a missing 20% odd. So you've got 41% unemployed, 41% have been absorbed, that's 82. So you've got 18%, which is the missing middle. So these then would be maybe people then who are not interested in getting a job. Believe it or not, there are people who do not want a job and are not looking for a job. So sometimes, there are people that we'll feel sorry for, but they're okay. They don't want to be felt sorry for, they're okay, they're not looking for a job, they're not interested, right? But at 41% absorption, it also tells you that having done everything well as a young person, you've gone to school, you've done everything that you need to do, the formal employment industry can only absorb 40%. The other 60% certainly have to then find another way of surviving. Now, when I looked at this next one, it just shows what I would call the trend over the last 10 years. And you can see from this thing that there's no trend. It's flat. It's flat. Nothing has changed since 2012. I mean, there you can see the effect of COVID with that blip at the bottom there. But by and large, you can see that it's always been the same. Now, this one is actually talking about people who are not employed. They're not in education. They're not being trained. These are people that are just sitting. You can see that the graph has been flat. Now, I was talking to somebody just before I started this talk, and if this was a trend, and then you call a statistician and you say, okay, based on this trend, what do you predict? This tells me that things are going to remain the same for a very long time. Okay? They are going to remain the same for a very long time, because if you've got 40% of people not being employed, and our economy is growing at about 1%, even if it grew at 2%, 3%, there is just not enough economic growth that is possible to absorb people that are unemployed. And this becomes very important in this discussion, because it actually tells us that in reality, you need a real economic boom, anywhere in the 8 to 10, 12% growth in order for us to see a change. And if that's not going to happen, then the reality actually tells us that for a foreseeable future, our economy will only absorb about 43% into the formal work environment. And that's why then the discussion that we're having today around unemployment and entrepreneurship becomes important, because in the absence of the formal economy being able to absorb people then have to look at other means. This one was quite interesting for me, because it talks about unemployment by education level. Now, what is interesting here, this blue part probably should have been white so that you can see clearly, but what I'm hovering over here, this represents people with less than matric. Okay? Now, 53%, half of people with less than matric are unemployed. So if you don't have matric, there's 2 of you, 1 of you certainly remains unemployed. If you take people with only matric, 38% of them are unemployed. If you take people that go to tertiary but do not get what would be a bachelor's equivalent, then there you've got 7% of them that are contributing, and then graduates only then form 2.4%. Okay, so this picture tells you that clearly, the more you get educated, the more your chance of getting a job. Okay, and this is very important because as I mean, I see there are people here that have children, and there are young people. People are very quick to point out outliers. People mention Bill Gates, that he left. People mention Steve Jobs, that he left, he didn't, you know. But go and look at those people that when they were in their first year, they were number 1 or number 2 in their class. So it is not that they are dropouts in the typical sense of a person who doesn't value education, but these are just God's gift to humanity. You know, they're special. But in life, we must be okay with being average. Be okay with being average, and because when you're average, the world is built around averages. Okay? So even as young people, you must value education because education is by and large the means by which you will be able to sustain yourself. So that is the picture, and that is the background. We are in a situation where 43% of youth are unemployed. We're in a situation where it's been like that for 10 years. We're in a situation where people, if you are not going to go to school, certainly then your chances of even remaining unemployed become higher. And this paints then the picture that, okay, but what about us then that you've done the right thing? You've done the right thing, you've gone to school, you've done the right thing. Some people even got a job, COVID came, or situations happen, you get retrenched. On Tuesday, I took an Uber, and my driver, it's a Bolt. I actually took a Bolt, not even an Uber, and this becomes very interesting for the story, because when I was in the car, I was like, no, but your car is too nice for a Bolt. Have you tried Uber? Because, I've actually realized that for free, Uber is 30% cheaper Bolt is 30% cheaper than Uber, right? And I've been feeling quite bad of late because I still choose Bolt, and I know that this person is actually not going to make any money, And I'm just like, please, sir, try Uber. He's like, oh, no, I'm new. I'm like, yeah, because I can see your car is too nice for this thing. And why? Then he says he doesn't want to talk about it. And he had a fit. He says, I don't want to talk about it. I'm like, no, but you must talk because you never know. These are the human connections that we make, and we could solve, and you could even solve. So then he explained to me that he was actually a former company secretary. Former secretary of a Reserve Bank back in just before 2010. Former company secretary of like your SITA, SITA. So you can imagine that if somebody has been a company secretary of the Reserve Bank, they don't get bigger in terms of that role in the context of America. And here he is today, he's driving a Bolt. So sometimes I'm trying to say that even when a slide like this will talk about education, I'm saying that life happens, people get retrenched, and the people that contribute to the statistics of unemployment, at times we think that it's just maybe people who would have not done the right things in life. But even when you've done the right things in life, you can find yourself there. So in that context, then we are then saying that then we ought to look at least entrepreneurship as a means to address the unemployment problem. Okay? So let's work on a definition of entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship, it is the activity of setting up a business where you take financial risk in the hope of a profit. I'd never seen this definition until 2 weeks back, because the hope part of it, I was like, wow, so actually it is, you're actually hoping, right? But I guess even for today, it's not even so much about hoping, but it's to say that if you are unemployed, really, what are your chances, okay? So do it not for purposes of profiteering per se. If you get lucky, you'll profit. But I think today I really just want to talk about it in the context of income, not in the context of getting rich, not in the context of becoming a super billionaire, but in the context that if the formal economy can only absorb 40% of us, 60% of people then need to look into entrepreneurship. And so what I'm going to then be talking about is really the process of innovation. And then the last thing that I'll then touch on is really then how do you really go then about setting up and starting a business. So what is innovation? Innovation is a change in the process by which an organization transforms its labor, its people, capital, materials or information into products and services for greater value, okay? So innovation is 1 + 1 must not be 2, but must be 3, all right? It must compound in generating economic value for organizations and for humanity in general. Now, this is important because anytime we talk about entrepreneurship, yes, we talk about it in the context of innovation. Like, what's this shining thing that you coming up with? What is this new, beautiful thing that you're coming up with? And outside of church, people then will even use like, yeah, but what's the sexy? What's sexy about it? What's beautiful about it? And I just want to take a step back because innovation can take different forms. And especially in the context of unemployment, one needs to understand that innovation has got 3 buckets. There is sustaining innovation, there is efficiency innovation, and then market creating innovation. Market creating innovation, that's the big thing. You know? That's the Uber, Airbnb, those are the big things. And in order of priority, that's how I'm putting them, because I don't really want to focus on the aha moments, because ultimately, that's where people get stressed, and that's where people then really talk about, they think millions. And I really just want to make it practical to say that let's talk about it in the context of unemployment to provide income to sustain yourself and to live, right? So those are the 3 forms of innovation. What is sustaining innovation? And this becomes key because this talks now to an improvement to solutions that already exist. So you're not coming up with anything new, but you are just improving on what already exists. What is an example of that? Is that whenever there's a new model of a phone, okay, that is a form of innovation. Because this phone, I saw a picture, it's an iPhone, I saw a picture on social media about a couple of days ago, and they were showing the 3, so I think I'm holding a 12, or 13, I don't know, 12. And they were showing the 14, 13, 12, and 11. And they all look, what? Exactly the same. But then if you actually go dive deeper into those models, then you then say, okay, no, this one, they've improved its ability in terms of battery efficiency, right? The other one, then it's also then improved the camera. So the phone already existed. The innovation now was about improving the solution, a new car model, okay? So cars exist. So it's not about bringing up a new car today. In fact, even the Mercedes-Benz exists. But now it's to say, okay, let's make it more sustainable by using smaller engines, but still make them quicker. And so there's nothing new there, or a new flavor of ice cream. Let's just throw it in there for fun, right? It's also a form of innovation. Now, why this is important for me, because then it then talks to, in the context of even, when you talk about formal employment versus the guy I saw in the Uber, okay? He gave me a business card, because I said, look, let's see. He gave me a business card, and he's got a business now where he is trying to consult on governance. He's trying to consult on, because I'm saying, if you've been working in the Reserve Bank, for example, for 5 years, certainly you understand the pain points that banks have, okay? And if now you find yourself in a process where you don't have a job, the very same pain points that were there, you are able to come up with something that's, okay, no. APSA used to come here, and we used to tell them that fix this, fix this, fix this. And now, you just then say, okay, fine, I am going to set up something to improve something for APSA, okay? I'm not going to be rich in dollars or anything like that, but I'm going to solve a problem that I know that every business encounters, and so I'm going to help to improve their processes, okay? The second one is about efficiency. Now, this is where you enable companies to do more with fewer resources. One of the things that I do is to build bots. So one of the things that we did was to use WhatsApp to get people to buy the insurance policies. Why? Because we're trying to get rid of paper. But if a person now wants to buy a funeral policy and they are in a remote area, one, the address is not there. So if you ask the person, where do you live? They don't know, but now they can drop a pin, a location, So it was quite funny because the location, most of the time, is about just where are you? And if you are married, where are you is very different, right? But I guess people use it to drop the pin. But now, using that, you're able to get the address, okay? Now, also because it's a bot, it doesn't sleep, okay? People now, if they're busy and they want to then also say, okay, fine, they need to submit their ID. Okay, I will do it, but I'm busy during the day. Anytime in the evening now, I'm able to just take a picture of my ID, send it through. Now you are talking about efficiency, because in as much as now the company now doesn't need to have people who are manning routine processes, right? And again, this is where then I say, okay, if you are in a position now, the company already exists, you are saying, how do we make companies, how do we help the world to be more efficient and help the company to do more with less? Obviously, technology always becomes a problem, because what I've just explained to you now, then the company says, okay, so maybe now we don't need people, okay? But it is innovation, it is what it is, and I'm saying that it just happens that it's there. In another industry, there are certainly many things that can be done where technology doesn't necessarily come and become a factor. But it's about process efficiency. It's about making companies more profitable, because if they don't have to throw more resources at it, then it improves their bottom line, and also then it frees up their cash flow. So find ways of being efficient. And for me, this one then says that work within your space. Work within your space, because that's what you know best. Don't try and reinvent things too much. There's something that you already know. You went to school and you studied this thing. You know it very well. Try and improve on that. Try and make that efficient. Try and make it more sustainable, because you'll then be surprised that even that thing is a thing that actually then becomes great innovation in the context of the company. And this is when now I'm talking to somebody who may not necessarily be, who has never entered the formal employment, who has previously entered formal employment, and they find themselves now in the situation where they don't have a job. And I'm saying, tap into the very place that you were in, the very space that you were in. Identify the thing that can be improved in terms of the process. Identify the thing that can be improved in terms of efficiency, and go back. Go back. Go back to the very same people that you worked with and for. Because those are your networks at the end of the day. They, and when you talk about the problem, they know that you've been here, you understand this problem, so you're not making up the problem, and go back to those industries and come up then with the solution that can then help the company. And then obviously the last one is the market creating innovation, and this is the one that everybody always wants to talk about, right? What's the next, the big thing, where you create a new market, So this is where now you come up with something, and it's a product that never existed. It's new, it's groundbreaking, and everybody then sings praises to say, wow, this thing is good, okay? So this one then talks to bringing a new product or a new solution into the market. And you'll find that this one is, if anything, this is probably the most difficult form of entrepreneurship. Statistically, 10 out of 11 market creating innovations fail. All right? And this is the thing that then we, as people, we don't, it's never told to people, because the world is biased towards the success stories. So for every one company that has made it, we have not been told about the 10 that did not make it. But it's not to dissuade anyone from having an aha moment. But it's just really also just to paint the reality picture that this one takes sweat, this one takes effort. If anything, I always believe that these kind of innovations, this is where, for me, they are God-led, because they are solving a human problem. And God, when he says that before you were formed in your mother's womb, I knew you, those are the people. It's a mission that God ordained from day one. So at best, it's to say, pray that you get to live out God's plan that he always had for you, but do not hit yourself hard on this one, because I believe that indeed that there's a divine thing that happens with those. So those are the three forms of innovation. To say, I'm unemployed. Do I go into something that sustains? I'm unemployed. Do I go into something that makes processes more efficient? Or I'm unemployed and I see a gap in the market. God has revealed something to me, and because he's revealed something to me, he's going to help me to go and get it and become a success at it. And because I'm pointing this one now really to youth and young people, then I said, for the remainder, let's just talk about the 7 steps to starting my own business. 7 for completeness when you're talking to the saints. So clearly everything must start with an idea, okay? And it must start with an idea that is profitable. So this is where it's also very important that research must go into it. Because can I see anybody here who has never registered a company with the CIPC? Raise your hand high. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So about 5% of us here have never registered a company with the CIPC. The rest of us here, we've registered 1, if not 2, if not 3, if not 4. All right? And then I asked myself, I want to ask you the next question, because then you then say, when it was time for you to get the name at the CIPC, right? And you put this name. And when you do the search, how many companies come up with that name? Holdings, this. Yeah, right? And then you're like, whoa. And then you realize that you are not the first person to be thinking about this. All right? Even just trying to get a domain, you know? And then you're trying to get a domain because this thing is it. You try to get a .co.za domain today, it's 2022. When you try and find that thing, then you see somebody's taken it. And they took it in 2006. 16 years ago, somebody was already thinking about what you are thinking about today. All right? But that should not put you off. But I'm saying that it's important for us to do your research, because you'll find that why they failed 16 years ago, because maybe the timing was not right, the technology was not right. But do your research so that you almost don't reinvent the wheel and do the very same thing that somebody did 16 years ago and it didn't work, all right? So that's the first step. It must be profitable, okay? Then you develop the product. You develop the product. Now, we're living in a digital age. When it comes to how to develop a product, there's so much literature out there. But please, take time to actually go through the literature where they will actually take you through the process of how to develop a product. With my job, I was actually a product developer. And there's like, at times, a product can even take you 18 months to develop, okay? And so you must understand that at times, I mean, maybe it's because then in corporates, maybe things can also move very slow, but also then appreciate that where companies also have got tons of resources to throw at a idea and a product, it can take that long. Don't take chances then, even as an individual, okay? Go through the process then of developing that product. Use the literature that is there. In fact, you'll even find that even the thing that you're trying to do, there might be something similar to it, such that you can even use that then as the template and rather work about tailoring it to your specific need. Now, this one becomes very important, especially now as a young person, because now you want to validate the product. Now, what does validating the product mean? Validating the product means that you actually go and test if there is a need for this product. Sometimes you tell yourself a story that, this thing, people even throw their babies at it. That's how good it is. And you do not validate the product. So what would be the process of validating a product? Is to say that instead of building the whole thing big, start small. Okay? Start small. So if indeed then I want to improve process governance for banks, okay? A bank has got many compliance and risk things that they would need to look at, okay? So I'm saying, okay, I'm going to just target one. Take this one, perfect it, go to them and say, okay, I've got this one thing, and that's all. That's all I want to do, because then you haven't spent too much time and resources building a Rolls Royce. You test it with something small. Somebody says, yeah, this would be of value to me. And you know how it will be of value to you, because you'll get constructive criticism. When you're looking for that gig, it actually hits you hard, because they'll say, no, but yours is only doing one thing. If it was doing this and that and that and that, yeah, okay? But now it's validating that, okay, they say, okay, yeah, it's fine because it's got one, versus them saying that no. If they say no to the one, then the five, forget about it, okay? But if they say no, they say we're our only problem is because then it's 1 versus 5, then you know that, okay, fine, then I'm going to go and develop 5, okay? But now you know that you have not wasted time and resources in building the 5 things that you needed to build, only to be told that it doesn't work. And then the other thing is that sometimes, even in validating your solution, be prepared not to make money from day one. Okay? Be prepared to say, okay, fine. I'm also then even prepared for you to use it for free. Use it for free. There's a young man who graduated, and it was very funny. I mean, you know, like, in the actuarial industry, certainly, I mean, when I graduated in 2005, there was no way you didn't get a job. No way. And then you then start finding situations, because of the way the economy is now, some people can actually then, 6 months without a job. And I said, look, if you have not been working, we talk about human capital, so you are the capital yourself, right? So I'm saying, it's another year. It's another year where you're not going to be paying tuition per se, but probably now you're going to be spending money on transport. Okay? Go to the company and say, I will work for free for a year. It's a resource that for them to be like, okay, except maybe for training you, but if you are willing to then do it for free, guess what? On your CV at the end of the year, you are able to put 1 year's experience. You are able to put 1 year's experience. And if anything, when people are fresh graduates, you almost just take the first job that you get, right? Then only after a year, then because now you're able to say, no, I was able to do 1, 2, 3, then you say, okay, now I want to go into that industry. So even for young people today, knowing the problem that we have today with unemployment, validate yourself, okay? And validating yourself might even happen without any income, but you are better off catching that taxi, going to that workplace for a year, and then in a year's time, you are employable, than saying that, no, I mean, I've got this honors degree, there's no way I'm going to do something for free until I get a job. You get the difference. And I'm just saying that even as parents, maybe that is something that we need to think about as well when it comes to our children, to say, okay, look, it's not going to be as expensive as having had to pay 50, 70,000 rand tuition. But now, I mean, by downscaling it to transport, you say, okay, maybe for an extra year, let's support the child and give them the money that they would need for transport to actually then validate, okay? So start small. It might not have to make a lot of money, but start small, okay? And then write a business plan. Because now, what you've done is that you've gotten the idea, you've seen that, okay, over the last 16 years, okay, CIPC is telling me that somebody had the idea, that domain is there, okay, I found another name now. I've developed the product, I've gone and I've validated it, and I'm getting feedback in all those stages, okay? So that now, when I'm going to then do the 5 things, I'm going to do them based on a solid business case that has got real input from my intended clients, okay? So write the business plan. Why is the business plan important? Is that, think about it as it's your guide. It's going to hold you honest. And I think, in my experience, I think that why people actually don't like the business plan is because people see it as something that when reality is different from what was on the plan, people get dejected. But actually, that is something that it's a pivoting moment. So when reality is different from the business plan, ask yourself why, okay? Because then there's 2 things. Either you're not executing what you had actually put down, or indeed, then it's time for you to update the very same business plan, okay? But if you had actually gone through the process of developing the product in a structured way and validating it, the likelihood of the business case turning out to be very different in terms of reality will be very small because you have validated this thing. And again, now I'm going to go back to the very same concept I'm talking about offering your services for free. Because now, if there was a business plan, if in a year's time, companies can't, when there was a question mark about your ability to do the job, it's not there anymore. Even you know how to execute because you've been in this role for a year. So the business plan must always be there. Take time, find people that can help write a good business plan. And if there's it's like your Bible, use it for testing all the assumptions that are there. I mean, one can spend an entire day talking about a business plan, but again, the internet is there. Unless if it's a new thing, you'll find that there is even a template. You just Google business plan for ice cream. They will come out in their numbers, and then you tailor it for your market, you tailor it for the unique value proposition that you have. Securing funding. This one becomes a problem, especially in the context of South Africa, because most people, this is where we always want to start. You need money to make money, as it were. And for me, then, I've tried, and I think it's also in talking to people that are in business, ask them how they have secured funding, because securing funding is difficult. It is difficult. In the South African context, you even find that you know, the money that you need, a person will come and say, yeah, I'll give you 200,000, but I want 50% of your business. And as an entrepreneur, you're like, oh, almost now you're taking my entire business. All right? But if you have gone to stage 3, validated the product, because if you validated the product, you almost secure a client, okay? And it's different when you've secured your market, because then when you look for funding, you are actually doing it against income that's going to be coming through, okay? Now, in the context of then how you value a company for the person who's going to say, I want 60%, you're able to demonstrate that, no, but my business is going to make 100,000 rands every year, okay? So for over the next 5 years, it's going to make 500,000 rands. If I need 100,000 rands today, it's very easy then, because it means that then I need 20%. I can only, you get what I'm trying to say. So I do think that at times people can come in the short end of the bargain, and I think it's because there's been no validation, and because there's been no validation, there's almost like no, it's still risky. The person looks at it and say, hey, this is just an idea, and maybe they can get greedy, or they just see it as risk, and because of that risk, then they want to take a lot of money. I'm going to talk just now about where, as young people, you can try and go and get funding, because there are places, there are pockets, but there are pockets for starting small. And I've mentioned that throughout this discussion, I'm not interested in the next billionaire. I'm interested in the next person that doesn't have a job, wants to start a business for surviving, okay? So secure funding. Last but one, launch your business, okay? Get started, go about doing what you've said you're going to do in your business case, launch your business, and then iterate and pivot. It's highly unlikely that what you envisaged things to be, they'll be exactly like that, okay? Sometimes, especially when you talk to people who are God's people, okay? Think about it in the context of you are leaving Egypt, okay? You are going to the promised land, Red Sea, you cross the Red Sea, then because of your stubbornness, 40 years, right? 40 years to get there. That's iterating, that's pivoting, okay? Because in the process, then you then get to see that, oh, at times to get water out of a rock, you point. At times to get water out of a rock, you hit it. It's pivoting. So iterating and pivoting becomes very important. Don't get fixated on your idea, especially when you're a Christian. Allow God to lead. Whatever He may have given you as the initial thing, it is not the end in itself. God was just putting you in a space so that you keep flowing, keep iterating to the thing, okay? But at times, a person, then you're so married to the idea that you're not willing to let go of it. And at least in the context of Christians, I'm saying that at times, learn to listen to God, to say maybe that's His way of directing you to the ultimate thing, okay? I've got, just to finish up. So there are things called accelerators and incubators in South Africa and anywhere really in the world. And what they are doing is that you've got people that put money, capital, into these things, because these are investors. So they don't want to go and talk to every Mutoda out there and every Vuyisa. They say, no, we're going to give our money to an accelerator or to an incubator. They are a company that deal with entrepreneurs who want to do business, and that company then will be the one that assesses your idea, and the checks are usually very small. The one that I really like, this one, it's because so if you go onto Google, it's Traction, TRACXN. They will list 70 accelerators and incubators in South Africa alone. Half of those everybody's now really looking into tech, but whether it's in the biomedical space, agriculture space, you almost find that there's an accelerator and an incubator for almost anything. If you go there, the ticket sizes anything from 50,000, 200,000. If you're lucky, they can get up to 1 million, okay? But the beauty about these accelerators and incubators is that they've got a vested interest in your success. So what they do is that they will give you a coach, they will give you a mentor, and they will walk the journey with you because they believe in your idea. So look out for them. They're easily accessible. In downtown Joburg, there's a nice big one there where, as young people, go there because there are those pockets, and especially designed for young people. You also do find your National Youth Development Agency. They will only give you up to 250,000 rands. But going back to point 4 here, or what was it? Validating the product. At times, that's all you need. So start small. The big thing says that you need funding of 5 million. But maybe one vertical of that, you can get by with a 250,000 rand paycheck for you to start validating the product and proving that it exists. Obviously, the one thing that people need to be mindful there is equity. Because if I go there, then I'm going to lose half of my business. If we are talking in the context of unemployment, you still want to make 50% of something than 0% or 100% of nothing, right? So at times, people also get too fixated on this whole equity story. I don't even know if I can say this. Okay, I can say it. I must just not mention who he is, right? So, one of the persons that has founded one of the biggest financial services businesses in South Africa. Today, we all know him as this glorious CEO who revolutionized the medical aid industry, right? You go and you gym and he gives you points and all that, right? Today, that person doesn't own more than 3% of that business. Okay? Doesn't own more than 3% of it. And when I checked, then this was years back, it had a market cap of 74 billion. Okay? So at times, if really the idea also is that good, 3% of 74 billion is a lot of money. Okay? But if today we're talking about somebody saying, okay, fine, we are an accelerator, we will help you to navigate this journey. And we want 20, 30, 40, 50%. Certainly I'm saying that don't get too fixated, because if your idea is also good, let's just use reasonable numbers, and if it grows to a point where it makes profits, net profits after paying expenses of 1 million, to get 500,000 rand at the end of the year as a dividend, you've done well. Especially if we're talking today in the context of where you're coming off a base of unemployment, where you're coming off a base where only 40% can be absorbed into the formal market. So at times I'm saying be careful of not getting too fixated on equity and control, but rather if you found the right partners, they will grow the business, and at the end of the day, your name, they'll always say you are the founder, you are the owner of this thing. Even at 3%, you are celebrated all over the world. And it's only people that have really dug in deep that they end up knowing that, oh, he's only got 3%. You get what I'm trying to say? So don't get fixated. So check out Traction, this page, because they've got a list of all these accelerators, 70 of them in South Africa, where they show you that based on the industry, which accelerator and incubator program is best suited for your idea and the thing that you want to build. So in wrapping it up, what am I saying? I'm saying that ultimately unemployment is a reality, and the only way somehow that you can address this thing is to do your own thing, And I'm saying that let's be realistic, that entrepreneurship, we should not think about it in terms of becoming a billionaire. What's very important today is to be in control of your own financial wellness. Find something, decide whether you're going to sustain something that already exists. Decide that, are you just going to improve on an existing process by making it efficient? And if the Lord has blessed you with a big idea, He will also help you to see it through. That's also okay. But look at the opportunities that lie even within existing things to make it just more sustainable or even more efficient. And please follow the 7th step. The only thing that I can really emphasize on that one is product validation, and it talks about having something small. Don't build something too big. Start it small, build something small, validate it, even if it means you don't make money and lots of money from it, but you are going to get key learnings from that, and even potentially then finding the client. And then last but not least then is to say that also look for these pockets of accelerators and incubators, because they are really there. You may be put off by the amounts, but probably the amounts also that they are willing to offer are an indication of the need to start small. All right. Thank you very much.